Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, and today we are going to be going through a SmackDown recap for this past Friday. This is the 12th of December edition of the show, and this comes on the eve of Saturday night's main event, being John Cena's last ever match. We're going to break down everything that took place across the course of the show and break it all down. So, first and foremost, we would kick things off then with Cody Rhodes. And before he would get to the ring, he would have a bit of a backstage conversation with Nick Aldis, the general manager. Basically, Nick saying that Drew McIntyre isn't going to be here tonight because he deems SmackDown to be too unsafe of a working environment. Nick Aldis basically reassures Cody that he's going to go to Drew McIntyre's house later on in the week, and they're going to sort things out and come to an understanding, I guess you could say. Cody, not too happy, gets straight out into the arena, goes down to the ring, and he starts discussing the reasons for why Drew isn't actually here. He sort of compares it to why Drew isn't WWE champion, and because the reason is he's only half in. So basically questioning his commitment, maybe feeling like he thinks that he's not quite, in the right frame of mind, maybe thinks he's a bit above what's going on at the moment. So yeah, that's the reason why he's not WWE champion, because he doesn't really care enough about it. And Cody, he cares a lot more from his perspective. He admits that he's not Drew McIntyre's boss, but instead of being able to order him around, he can beat his ass instead. Once Cody's sort of like getting into a little bit of rhythm, we then hear the music of Obafemi, the NXT champion, and Cody Rhodes' opponent for Saturday night's main event. He comes down into the ring and essentially just stands face to face with Cody Rhodes for a couple of moments before then being passed a microphone. Oba says that Cody is worried about the wrong man. He's focused too much on Drew McIntyre, and actually instead he should be focused on Obafemi himself. Oba tells Cody that he's looking at not the future, but the now. And then he goes on to say, sort of bringing up John Cena's sort of like biggest quirks here, and he would basically say that in the spirit of hustle, loyalty, and respect, Cody's time is up and that his time is now. Cody basically fights back saying how, he is the WWE champion. John Cena is the man that he beat to win the title, and he is definitely focused on Obafemi. He reassures him of that. The two have a bit of a stare down at the very end of the segment, and then Cody leaves the ring to Obafemi. So once we go from our first segment there, we go into our first match of the night, which sees Ilya Dragunov go one-on-one with Tommaso Ciampa. That would be for the United States Championship. We've seen, obviously, these open challenges in the past few weeks, and we've seen Tommaso wanting his shot, but never quite getting it, and now is the time where we finally get that moment. After a pretty hellacious contest, it's absolutely brutal, to be fair. Both men are absolutely killing it, and killing each other, really, in this one. We do get to a position where Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae of DIY, they come on down to help out Tommaso Ciampa and provide a distraction, and almost pays dividend, because Tommaso Ciampa gets a perfect opportunity to hit a knee to the face of Ilya Dragunov and goes for a cover, but only gets a count of two, literally Ilya kicking out just before the count of three. And as Ciampa's looking to capitalize and to get that victory by hitting the fairy tale ending, we see Ilya Dragunov actually roll up Tommaso Ciampa, and that'll be enough for him to retain his United States Championship. Post-match, we get a little bit of shenanigans because DIY obviously aren't happy with the result. They attack Ilya Dragunov, and whilst that's happening, we then see Carmelo Hayes come on down to the ring in order to aid Ilya. He clears the ring, helps Ilya up to his feet, and the two have maybe a little bit of respect towards each other at the end of the segment. Once that's all cleared up and done, we then have a little bit of a backstage segment where we see NXT's Javon Evans, who has a tag team matchup coming up on Saturday night's main event. He is backstage being interviewed, and he gets interviewed pretty quickly by The Miz, who starts complaining that he doesn't have a match at Saturday night's main event, but Javon Evans does. Miz basically says, I'm the guy that's obviously beat John Cena at WrestleMania. He starts listing his accolades, this, that, and the other. And Evans had enough of Miz's interruptions, basically issues a challenge towards The Miz, saying that, tonight we can go one-on-one if you accept. The Miz does accept it pretty instantaneously. He says he's going to go get that match arranged with Nick Aldis, and we'll see that a little bit later on. Then we see the Wyatt Six hit the ring, and that's the entirety of the group, which is quite nice to see now that everything's back smoothly running for the group. And Uncle Howdy takes to the mic. He looks to Solo and the MFTs, basically referring to their judgment of the Wyatts, saying how Solo's real family had turned their backs on him, and now he's gone and forward his own family, and he's made the best of the situation. He says that the MFT's control of SmackDown is all but a charade, essentially, and says that the Wyatts have the tag titles, and if Solo and his MFTs want them, then they will have to come and get them. The MFTs appear on the Tron pretty much instantly afterwards, with Solo saying how they won't do things on the Wyatt's terms, but on their own instead. He says that next week they're going to be coming for the tag team titles, basically issuing a warning in the process. This wasn't the smoothest delivery from the segment by Howdy. It was a little bit awkward. I'm not entirely sure if he forgot his lines halfway through it. Seemed like he might have done. There's a very large pause on one of the words during what he was saying, and it did feel a little bit stretched out. So yeah, as whether there was a particular bit of forgetfulness in there, then I guess there might have been, but. Yeah, not so much a bad first half here. They're raising the stakes for the Saturday's main event, getting Oprah and Cody face to face, which is quite nice. It is true. Cody has been very sort of focused on Drew McIntyre, so it should be brought to life that he is going up against Obafemi and not Drew. So time to basically try and shift that focus onto the right man. So I did like that opening segment. We do then obviously get the the match afterwards for the US title, and it was a very good match. Honestly, very very good stuff. Probably one of Ilya's best United States Championship matches here, I would say. Just hellacious, brutal. Both men absolutely killed it. And it was a really fun watch as well. Very entertaining. Ilya says that, pain will be your entertainment. And it really, really was. And then, obviously we do have that sort of continuation of the Wyatt Six and the MFTs afterwards. So tag team title match next week. By the sounds of it is what's going to be coming up next. Looking forward to seeing that take place. We're going to go into our second half of SmackDown now, and we would see a one-on-one match between Alexa Bliss and Lash Legend. So the women's tag team competition sort of building up more and more each and every week. And it's a pretty great moment for Lash Legend, honestly. In this matchup, she looks pretty good against Alexa Bliss, going toe-to-toe with her. We see a part of the matchup where Charlotte just goes face-to-face with Nia Jax on the outside, getting up in each other's business, and Charlotte actually takes out Nia Jax towards the very end of this matchup. Once Charlotte takes out Nia, we then see Lash Legend on the outside, sort of like stalking her prey almost, and she takes out Charlotte Flair, basically in response. And as she does that, she gets back into the ring. Alexa looks to take advantage by hitting some sort of satellite DDT type maneuver. And instead of hitting that move, Lash Legend counters with her Lash extension, and that's her finishing move to get the victory. And what I would probably deem to be her biggest singles win of her career, a win over multi-time women's champion Alexa Bliss. The accolades that she has, that is got to be, by any means necessary, Lash Legend's biggest win. So yeah, what a moment for her. Absolutely huge victory, and maybe quite a surprise, I guess you could say as well. But the interference on the outside maybe just sort of, I don't know, playing a little bit of an effect, I guess you could say, in that respect. We then see a one-on-one match as advertised earlier on in the night, and that would be Javon Evans going one-on-one with The Miz. This was a chance for Javon to show up and show out and to prove why he is the young OG. And that's what he basically brought to the table in this matchup. It was quite a good contest. It's back and forth. Miz controlled a little bit here and there. Javon Evans would fight back and, bring that sort of high-flying energy that he's capable of delivering every single time he's in the ring. And yeah, it was just a mix of styles, which was quite nice to see, actually. Javon brought the high-flying ability, and that sort of paid dividends in the end when he would hit the OG cutter, and that would be enough for him to get the 1-2-3 and to pin The Miz onto the mat to get the win. But yeah, fun matchup, decent enough for sure from both guys. And it was a nice way of just sort of giving Javon a bit more spotlight on the main roster scene, which, for someone at 21, he's absolutely incredible. So it's great to see him getting these opportunities on the main roster, even at such a young age like he is. We would then go into our next segment, which is actually meant to be a one-on-one match between Jade Cargill and Michin, but we didn't quite get that. So Michin is basically giving it all that on her way to the ring, and she's walking through almost like towards Gorilla at the time. And as she's sort of like, saying everything about Jade Cargill that she wants to get off of her chest, Jade actually attacks her from behind. And that sort of takes Michin out for a moment. Jade goes down into the ring. She goes to pick up a microphone and basically says that all the women in the locker room need to know their place, or else they'll all end up like Michin did just a moment ago. Michin comes down the ramp with a kendo stick, bringing the fight back to Jade, and the two have a bit of a brawl around the ring. The two get into the ring, and then that's when Jade hits Michin with a chokeslam in order to stand tall at the end of the segment, proclaiming that once again she is, and still, that bitch. So yeah, Jade Cargill really bringing it to Michin once again here, and she is getting pretty dominant here and has a bit of a stronghold over the SmackDown Women's Division. In our main event of the show, we would have a 2-on-2 mixed tag team matchup. This would see Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley taking on the team of Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. A bit of history, obviously, between Aleister and Damian over the past number of months. And that sort of sparred and continued to go into this matchup right here. And generally speaking, Yeah, it was quite a fun matchup for the most part of it. It wasn't the cleanest of matches, though. There was a little bit of a botching session regarding Zelina Vega, especially in this one. Unfortunately, I think she might have looked for a code red after Rhea went for a riptide. It's meant to be like a nice little maneuver, like a little like transition, but it didn't quite work. Rhea sort of like fell flat on her face by the looks of it from my perspective. Maybe that wasn't quite right, but it looked it from watching it on the TV. And yeah, she fell on her face, and I think it was Zelina trying to go for another one afterwards, gets it and hits it, which is fair play. But then there's another situation afterwards, a few moments later, where there's another sort of like awkward situation between the two. I don't know whether it's a bit of a mixed communication here, but yeah, unfortunately didn't quite go as cleanly as it could have done. But besides that, it was a decent enough mixed tag team matchup. We saw interactions between Aleister Black and Rhea Ripley during a pinfall, where Aleister would pull Ripley off. Bit of a stare down between the two. The intensity was there. And yeah, it was just nicely done. So in for the most part, it was good, but just a couple of like little down moments here and there. But it is a win for Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest in the end, as Rhea Ripley hits the Riptide on Vega to get the win for herself and Priest. So the Terror Twins with a win on our main event of SmackDown. So yeah, second half just sort of kind of flew by, really. Lash getting a really big moment there against Alexa Bliss by getting the win over her, which is incredible for herself. Javon Evans continuing to really just raise his stock and, just get those wins on the main roster, which is great for him. Jay Cargill really is dominant over the SmackDown Women's Division at the moment, albeit Michin and BFAB so far. We'll obviously look to see if she can sort of like continue that against some other women. I guess you could include Chelsea Green in that conversation as well. And then, yeah, great win for Rhea and Damian. Probably expect a result here, no real surprises, but yeah, the Terror Twins causing a terror, I guess you could say. As for this episode of SmackDown, it was good. I wouldn't say it was anything outstanding. I wouldn't say it was the worst SmackDown we've seen this year. There was quite a lot to take in, I suppose, in terms of the number of segments, which is quite nice, and a fair few people were showcased on the card, which is always good. Important things, I wouldn't say too much on the important standard. Ilya Dragunov, probably the biggest matchup on the card, I would say, personally speaking, with that US title Open Challenge, which was an incredible matchup. Fair play. But besides that, I think it was maybe a little bit sort of, I don't know, fillerish by the sounds of it for the most part. In terms of what I give this one, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it was decent, but it wasn't anything too great, unfortunately speaking. But yeah, that basically comes to an end for the SmackDown recap here at The Push. If you guys have liked this one, please consider hitting a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, keeping up with future releases coming out very, very soon. We're always pumping out the content here, and it's always a pleasure to do so. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments as well. Please let us know whether you liked this episode of SmackDown, what you thought was good, bad, and different. And yeah, just generally speaking, how you're feeling going into Saturday's main event with John Cena's last ever match coming up tonight. But for now, everyone, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy and goodbye for now.